Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! Israel gazed at the sprawling estate through the tinted window of the limousine, his brown hair neatly combed back, though he knew that soon it would be styled differently. The Harrington mansion loomed like a fortress of old money, its ivy-covered walls hiding secrets that could topple empires. He had been summoned here by Margaret Harrington herself, the reclusive billionaire whose name whispered through boardrooms and shadowed dealings. Israel was no stranger to unusual jobs. As a skilled actor with a knack for mimicry, he had impersonated executives in corporate espionage gigs before. But this was something else entirely. The butler escorted him into a dimly lit study where Margaret sat behind a massive oak desk, her silver hair pinned in a severe bun, her eyes sharp as diamonds. "Israel," she said, her voice a low rumble of authority. "I've reviewed your portfolio. You're discreet, talented, and apparently you bear a striking resemblance to my daughter Elias when properly attired." He nodded, keeping his expression neutral. "I'm here to listen, Mrs. Harrington." She leaned forward, folding her hands. "Elias has run off to Europe. She's fleeing an arranged marriage that's crucial to sealing a merger with the Vanderbilt family. Their son Elias is the groom. Without her presence, the deal crumbles, and so does my empire. You will become her. Convince my associates, the Vanderbilts, everyone that she's still here, handling affairs while she resolves personal matters abroad. You'll attend dinners, parties, the works. In return, a fortune that will set you for life." Israel's mind raced. Impersonating a woman? It wasn't unheard of in his line of work, but the stakes felt immense. "And when she returns? By then, the merger will be secure. She'll slip back in, and you'll vanish." Margaret's gaze bored into him. "But you must be flawless. Elias is poised, elegant, with a sharp mind for business. Fail, and we're both ruined." He agreed, signing the non-disclosure with a steady hand. The transformation began that afternoon in a private suite of the mansion. Stylists arrived, their kits brimming with tools. They fitted him with padding to sculpt feminine curves, applied makeup with expert precision to soften his features, and styled his brown hair into soft waves that cascaded just past his shoulders, mimicking Elias's look from the photos Margaret provided. The first outfit was one of her signatures, a white lace sundress that hugged the form they'd created, its delicate fabric whispering against his skin as he moved. Looking in the mirror, Israel saw her. Elias. The reflection was uncanny, the brown hair framing a face that could pass for the real thing under scrutiny. From that moment, she stepped into the role fully, her old identity tucked away like a forgotten script. She practiced her voice, a lilting soprano that echoed Elias's recorded conversations. Margaret watched approvingly as she walked the halls, heels clicking on marble floors, the sundress swaying with each step. The first test came that evening, a business dinner with Margaret's associates at an upscale restaurant downtown. She arrived in the limousine, the white lace sundress paired with pearl earrings that caught the light. The associates, a group of stern-faced investors, greeted her as Elias, their eyes lighting up with recognition. "Darling, you've been missed," one said, kissing her hand. She smiled demurely, launching into discussions about market trends and acquisition strategies, drawing on the briefing packets Margaret had supplied. As the night wore on, she fielded questions about the upcoming engagement, nodding gracefully. "Elias and I are looking forward to it," she said, her voice steady. Inside, a flicker of unease stirred. This was more than acting. It was inhabiting a life. But she pushed it down, focusing on the charade. The dinner ended with toasts to the merger, and Margaret's subtle nod from across the table confirmed success. Days blurred into a routine of preparation and performance. Mornings were spent in the mansion's library, poring over financial reports to embody Elias' intellect. Afternoons involved fittings for more outfits, always ensuring the illusion held. Evenings brought events, a garden party where she mingled in the white lace sundress, charming potential partners with insights into global trade. She never reverted, never shed the persona. It became her reality, the dresses and gowns, a second skin. Then came the first meeting with Elias Vanderbilt, the intended groom. It was at an engagement party thrown by his family at their lakeside estate. She arrived in a crimson evening gown that draped elegantly, its fabric shimmering under chandeliers. Elias was tall, with dark hair and a warm smile that disarmed her instantly. He approached, extending a hand.
Aaliyah, it's been too long. You look radiant.
She took his hand, feeling a spark that wasn't part of the script.
Elias, likewise. Tell me about your latest ventures.
They talked for hours, wandering the gardens as guests swirled around them. He spoke of sustainable energy projects, his passion evident, and she found herself genuinely engaged, sharing ideas that drew from her own knowledge, amplified by Elias' files. Laughter came easily, his eyes lingering on her brown hair as it caught the moonlight. By the party's end, as they danced under the stars, she felt a pull, an attraction that complicated everything. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was here to impersonate, not to feel. Yet in the crimson gown, swaying to the music, she wondered if this version of Aaliyah was awakening something real within her. The emotional turmoil built over subsequent encounters. A business luncheon where Elias sat beside her, his knee brushing hers under the table, sending a jolt through her. She wore the white lace sundress again, its familiarity a comfort amid the chaos. They discussed the merger's details, but his glances held more than professional interest.
You've changed,
he said softly during a break.
More confident, more present.
She blushed under the makeup, her brown hair tucked behind one ear. Life has a way of refining us. Inside, turmoil churned. Falling for him meant betraying the role, yet denying it felt impossible. Nights in the mansion, she paced in the gown, replaying their conversations, the way his laugh warmed her. Complications escalated at a formal dinner with both families. Dressed in another crimson evening gown, she navigated tense negotiations, her poise impressing even Margaret, who watched with a rare smile. Elias pulled her aside afterward, into a quiet alcove. Aaliyah, I know this marriage is arranged, but being with you these weeks, it's made me hopeful for something real. Her heart raced. Elias, She wanted to confess everything, but the words stuck. Instead, she leaned in, their foreheads touching briefly, a moment of unspoken connection. The turmoil deepened. She was no longer just acting. She was living this. Her feelings for him, a tangled web. Weeks turned to months, the impersonation seamless. She attended board meetings in tailored versions of the sundress, her insights steering deals that bolstered the Harrington empire. Margaret began consulting her on strategies, treating this Aaliyah as a true heir. You're better at this than she ever was, Margaret confided one evening, as she adjusted the crimson gown for yet another party. At that event, Elias proposed a private walk along the beach, the waves crashing as they talked dreams and futures. She felt herself falling deeper, the emotional storm raging.
"I never expected this," he admitted, taking her hand. "But with you, it feels right."
She squeezed his hand, her brown hair whipping in the sea breeze. The words, "I feel the same," escaped before she could stop them, sealing the turmoil in her chest. Then, without warning, the real Elias returned. She slipped into the mansion under cover of night, her face a mix of exhaustion and relief from her European exile. Margaret summoned her, the impersonator, to the study. Elias stood there, mirroring the brown hair and features, but her eyes wide with shock as she took in the poised figure in the white lace sundress. "You're—" Elias whispered. Margaret intervened. "She did what you couldn't. Kept everything intact." Elias nodded gratefully. "Thank you. I resolved things abroad, faced my fears. But now, I see you've become something more." The shock came when Margaret turned to her daughter. "Actually, I've grown fond of this version. More engaged, intelligent. Perhaps we can find a way to integrate." Elias's eyes narrowed, gratitude turning to disbelief. "Mother, what are you saying?" She, the one in the sundress, stood silent, heart pounding, as the room thickened with tension. Elias was due to arrive any moment for a final merger signing, unaware of the duplicate before him. As the door opened and Elias stepped in, his gaze flickering between the two identical women, confusion etched on his face. She realized the charade was unraveling in ways no one anticipated, and the choice of who would claim this life hung in the balance. But before anyone could speak, a urgent knock echoed from the hall, a messenger bursting in with news of a corporate sabotage attempt that threatened the entire merger, forcing them all into immediate action, leaving identities and affections suspended in chaos. The messenger's words hung heavy. "Mrs. Harrington, the Vanderbilt's rivals have leaked sensitive documents. We need Elias, whichever one, to address the press conference now, or the deal collapses." Margaret's eyes darted between her daughter and the impersonator, the room electric with unspoken decisions. She, the one who had lived as Elias these months, stepped forward instinctively, her white lace sundress a symbol of the role she'd embodied. "I'll handle it," she said, voice steady, drawing on the poise she'd cultivated. Elias watched her, his expression a mix of admiration and bewilderment, still processing the duplication. Elias hesitated, then nodded. "You've earned this." But there was an edge to her tone, a flicker of resentment beneath the gratitude. The press conference was a whirlwind, held in the mansion's grand ballroom, hastily converted with podiums and cameras. Reporters swarmed, their questions sharp as knives.
"Miss Harrington, rumors of your absence. Care to comment?"
one shouted. She stood tall, brown hair framing her composed face.
"Absence? I've been here, steering our initiatives forward. These leaks are baseless attempts to undermine progress."
She delved into details, outlining countermeasures with the intelligence that had impressed Margaret, turning the tide as flashes popped and notes were scribbled. Elias stood off stage, his eyes never leaving her. When it ended successfully, he approached. "That was incredible. But who are you, really?" Before she could answer, Margaret pulled them into a side room. "The merger is safe for now, but we have loose ends." Elias joined, her presence a mirror that unsettled everyone. Over the next days, the household buzzed with adjustments. She continued in the role, Attending follow-up meetings in the crimson evening gown, her interactions with Elias laced with deeper emotion. He sought her out in quiet moments, their conversations turning personal.
"Whatever this is,"
he said one afternoon in the garden,
"it's you I connect with."
The turmoil inside her swirled, loyalty to the job clashing with genuine affection. Elias, meanwhile, observed from the sidelines, grateful yet increasingly shocked by Margaret's preference. "She's more like the daughter I envisioned," Margaret admitted during a private tea, as she, the impersonator, listened from the doorway, unseen. Tensions simmered at a family brunch, where Elias's parents joined. She wore the white lace sundress, engaging in talks that showcased her grasp of the business. Elias tried to interject, but Margaret steered the conversation back to her stand-in. "See how she handles the projections?" Margaret praised. Elias's face tightened. "Mother, I'm back. I can take over." But Margaret waved her off. "Not yet. She's proven invaluable." Elias, sensing the undercurrents, pulled her aside later.
"This arrangement, it's confusing, but my feelings aren't."
They shared a lingering look, her heart aching with the complexity. As weeks passed, she dove deeper into the family business, proposing innovations that Margaret eagerly adopted. Dressed always in Elias's style, the crimson gowns for evenings, sundresses for days, she became indispensable. Elias's shock grew, manifesting in subtle confrontations. "You've stolen my life," Elias whispered one night in the hallway. "Not stolen. Preserved," she replied, brown hair catching the lamplight.
"And perhaps improved."
Elias's courtship intensified, with private dinners where they discussed everything from art to ambitions. In a crimson gown at a gala, they danced again, his hand on her waist sending waves of emotion.
"I want this to be real,"
he confessed. She nodded, torn. "It is. For me." Margaret's favoritism culminated in a board meeting where she announced, "Elias, my Elias, will lead the next phase." But her gaze was on the impersonator, not her daughter. Elias stormed out, later confronting her mother. "How can you prefer a fake?" "She's not fake," Margaret said. "She's better." The emotional storm peaked when Elias proposed a weekend getaway to discuss their future, unaware of the full truth. She agreed, packing the white lace sundress, her mind a whirlwind of love and deception. At the secluded cabin, they walked trails, shared stories.
"Tell me about your past,"
he urged. She hesitated, then wove truths with fiction, her brown hair tousled by the wind. Their connection deepened, but guilt gnawed at her. Back at the mansion, Elias had been digging, uncovering details of the hiring. "Mother hired you as Israel," she accused upon their return, in front of Margaret and Elias. Elias's face paled.
"Israel?
"You're Elias." She stood firm in the crimson gown. "I was hired to be her, but I've become more," Margaret interjected. "And I intend to keep her as such. The real Elias can start fresh elsewhere." Elias's eyes blazed. "You can't do this!" As arguments erupted, Elias turned to her, hurt and confused. "Was any of it real?" "All of it," she whispered. Before resolutions could form, a phone rang. News of a rival takeover bid, demanding immediate strategy. Margaret looked to her. "Handle it," You're the one I trust. With the family fractured and affections in limbo, she stepped into the fray. But a mysterious email arrived, hinting at deeper secrets from Elias' European escape that could upend everything. The email's subject line read, "The truth about Elias' flight," sent from an anonymous source. She opened it in the privacy of the study, her crimson gown pooling around her as she sat. It contained documents suggesting Elias hadn't just fled the marriage, but had entangled herself in shady dealings abroad, potentially jeopardizing the family name. Margaret burst in. "What's this?" She scanned the screen, her face hardening. "If this is true..." Elias entered moments later, summoned by a text. "It's not what it seems," she defended, but her voice wavered. Elias, overhearing, joined the gathering storm. "We need transparency. All of us." The group convened in the library, tensions high. She, still in her role, mediated. "Let's verify these claims before jumping to conclusions." Her poise shone, drawing nods from Margaret and even Elias. Investigations began that night, with calls to contacts in Europe. Dressed in the white lace sundress the next morning, she pored over records, her brown hair tied back for focus. Elias assisted, their proximity reigniting sparks amid the crisis.
"No matter who you were before,"
he said softly,
"you're the one I see now."
Elias, sidelined, grew more agitated, confiding in her. "I ran to find myself, but I got in over my head with some investors. Nothing illegal, but messy." Margaret overheard. "Messy enough to ruin us? This is why I prefer your version," she said to the impersonator. The rivalry between the two Elias intensified. At a strategy session, she proposed a bold counter to the takeover, impressing the room. Elias countered with her own ideas, but Margaret dismissed them. "Stick to what you know. Running away." Elias pulled her aside after. "This division, it's tearing everything apart, but you ground me." Their moments together became anchors. A quiet lunch where he shared family histories, her responding with fabricated yet heartfelt tales. In the crimson gown at an emergency investor call, she sealed alliances with her intellect, Elias watching proudly. Yet the email's sender revealed more, drip-feeding evidence of Elias' entanglements. "We have to confront this," she urged Margaret. A family meeting turned explosive. Elias admitted partial truths. "I borrowed funds to invest in a startup, but it failed. I was ashamed." Margaret's disappointment was palpable. "And you, my stand-in, have never faltered." Elias, conflicted, turned to her. "I need time to process." As he walked away, she felt the turmoil peak, but another message arrived. "Meet me tonight, or the full story goes public." The sender demanded a rendezvous at a downtown cafe. She went, in the white lace sundress, heart pounding. The figure waiting was a shadowy contact from Elias' past, holding a dossier.
"Your daughter owes me.
Pay up or expose everything." Returning to the mansion, she briefed Margaret. "We can buy him off, but it risks more." Elias pleaded. "Let me fix this." But Margaret chose her. "You'll handle it." Elias, learning of the meeting, confronted her. "You're in danger for us. I can't lose you." Their embrace was brief, charged with emotion, but interrupted by Elias' outburst. "This isn't fair! She's not even real!" The night ended in stalemate, with the takeover looming and secrets bubbling. The next day, She attended a high-stakes negotiation in the crimson gown, her performance flawless, but whispers of the duplicate Elias began circulating among associates. Elias confided over dinner.
Rumors are spreading. We need to decide who you are. To the world. To me.
She nodded, feelings overwhelming.
I'm the Elias you've come to know.
Margaret announced her plan. Legally adopt the impersonator as a long-lost relative to legitimize her role. Elias recoiled.
You're replacing me?
As protests mounted, a board vote was called, with Elias's family weighing in. She presented her case, brown hair gleaming under lights, her poise unshakable. The vote tied, leaving the decision to Elias. He hesitated, eyes on her.
I choose.
Before he could finish, alarms blared. Security breach at the estate. Intruders linked to the rival bid storming the gates, forcing a lockdown and heightening the drama to a fever pitch. Guards rushed in, ushering everyone to safe rooms. She grabbed Elias's hand, her crimson gown trailing as they hurried down corridors.
Stay close,
he said, protective instinct kicking in. In the panic room, the group huddled. Margaret barking orders via intercom, Elias pacing anxiously, Elias holding her steady.
This is the rivals' doing, Margaret growled. They know about the duplicates.
The intruders' demands crackled over speakers.
Surrender control or we expose your family's fraud.
She thought quickly. I can negotiate. They think I'm Elias, the real one. Margaret agreed.
You're our best shot.
Venturing out under guard escort, she faced the lead intruder in the foyer, white lace sundress swapped for practicality, but still maintaining the feminine grace.
What do you want?
She demanded.
Everything.
He sneered.
Your mother's empire, starting with the merger.
Drawing on her business acumen, she countered with offers, stalling for time as authorities arrived. Elias watched from monitors, admiration growing. The standoff resolved with arrests, but not without revelations. The intruder leaked hints of the impersonation to the press en route. Morning brought media frenzy. Reporters camped outside, shouting questions. She, in the crimson gown, prepared a statement, but Elias intercepted.
Let me speak. It's my life.
Margaret overruled. She will. The presser was intense. There are two of us, she admitted partially, framing it as a security measure. But the Harrington legacy endures. Elias stood by her side, his support evident. Back inside, he pulled her into an embrace.
You're extraordinary.
Elias, watching, softened slightly. Maybe there's room for both. Margaret pondered. Perhaps a partnership. But unresolved feelings lingered. Elias whispered to her,
Marry me. For real. As you are.
Before she could respond, another crisis hit. A lawsuit from Elias's European contacts, claiming fraud, pulling them into legal battles that promised to redefine identities. Courtrooms became their new arena. She testified in elegant attire, her testimony sharp, defending the family's actions. Elias sat in the gallery, his gaze a constant reassurance. During recesses, they stole moments.
This trial is testing us, he said, but it's clarifying what I want. You.
Elias, on the stand, revealed her side, earning some sympathy, but Margaret's preference remained. The judge's ruling favored them, dismissing claims, but mandated transparency. The public deserves the truth about Aaliyah Harrington. Post-trial, Margaret hosted a gala to rebrand. She arrived in the white lace sundress, brown hair styled perfectly, greeting guests with the poise that had won hearts. Elias proposed formally that night, on one knee amid fireworks.
Be my wife, as the woman you've become.
Tears welled. Yes. Aaliyah approached, grateful yet wary. You've saved us, but what now for me? Margaret smiled. A new role, perhaps abroad, building your own path. As celebrations ensued, a late-night call from an unknown number warned of lingering threats.
The real secrets are still buried. Watch your back.
With the merger secure but shadows looming, she and Elias faced an uncertain future, their love a beacon amid the intrigue. The warning call echoed in her mind during the honeymoon phase, though no actual trip occurred yet due to ongoing business. She and Elias spent evenings planning, her in the crimson gown, discussing how to merge their lives fully. Margaret integrated her further, assigning key projects. You're the future, she said. Aaliyah, adjusting to a subsidiary role, shared insights from her travels, forging a tentative alliance. I see why Mother prefers you. You're relentless. One project involved expanding into European markets, ironically circling back to Aaliyah's past. She led negotiations, her intellect shining, Elias by her side as partner. During a trip to Paris for deals, they explored the city, her white lace sundress fitting the romantic backdrop. This feels like a beginning, Elias said, kissing her hand. But the threats materialized. A stalker from Aaliyah's entanglements followed them, leaving notes. Pay what she owes, or suffer. They heightened security, but the stress tested their bond. We'll face it together, she assured. Back home, Margaret revealed a twist. I've amended my will. You inherit the majority. Aaliyah's shock returned. This is too much. Family therapy sessions followed, airing grievances. She mediated, her emotional depth surprising all. Elias's family, initially wary, warmed to her. At a Vanderbilt dinner, she charmed them in the crimson gown, sealing alliances. Yet the stalker's escalation, an attempted break-in, forced confrontation. She set a trap, using her acting skills to lure him out, leading to his capture. With peace restored, life normalized. She and Elias announced their engagement publicly. The story spun as a tale of love triumphing over adversity. But as wedding plans unfolded, a final envelope arrived, containing photos of her pre-transformation life, threatening exposure. One last chance to pay. Faced with this, she confided in Elias fully. My past as Israel, does it change us? He shook his head. Together, they traced the sender, uncovering a network tied to old rivals. Margaret mobilized resources, but the confrontation loomed, promising more revelations that could alter their world forever. The network's leader demanded a meeting in a neutral warehouse, far from the mansion's safety. She arrived in a discreet version of the white lace sundress, Elias insisting on accompanying her despite the risks.
You're not doing this alone,
he said, his hand in hers. Margaret monitored from afar, her voice in their earpieces. Be careful. This could be a trap. The leader, a grizzled man with a scar across his cheek, smirked as they entered.
So, the fake Aaliyah comes to play. Your sister owes me millions from her failed venture.
She stood firm.
That debt is settled. We're here to end this.
He laughed.
Not without proof of who you really are. The world would love to know about Israel.
Elias stepped forward.
Threaten her. You threaten us all. The Harringtons and Vanderbilts united.
Negotiations dragged, with offers and counteroffers. Her poise turned the tide, revealing flaws in his claims.
Your evidence is fabricated. We have records showing Elias' payments.
Bluffing worked. He backed down, but not before hinting at bigger players.
This isn't over. There are others who want the empire down.
Escaping the warehouse, they drove back, adrenaline high.
You were brilliant,
Elias praised. At the mansion, Elias waited.
I should have handled my messes. Thank you for cleaning up.
Margaret nodded. It's what family does. The incident strengthened bonds, but the hint of larger threats lingered. She dove into investigations, her brown hair often pinned up as she worked late nights in the library, crimson gown replaced with comfortable attire for focus, though always maintaining her feminine presentation. Elias joined her, their partnership evolving into something profound.
We're a team,
he said. A breakthrough came. The network linked to a corporate espionage ring targeting mergers like theirs. They alerted authorities, but leaks suggested internal betrayal. Suspicion fell on associates, leading to discreet inquiries. At a business retreat, she observed behaviors, her insights keen. During the retreat's formal dinner, in the crimson evening gown, she confronted a suspect subtly.
Your loyalties seem divided.
He denied, but sweat beaded on his brow. Elias whispered,
We have him.
The confrontation escalated when evidence surfaced, leading to his confession, hired by rivals to sow discord. With the traitor ousted, stability returned, but the wedding approached amid whispers of more plots. On the eve of the ceremony, she reflected in the mirror, brown hair cascading, the white lace sundress a nod to her beginnings. Elias entered.
Tomorrow, you're mine.
But a midnight call shattered the peace.
The real danger is closer than you think. Check Margaret's safe.
Rushing to the study, they found documents revealing Margaret's own secrets, past deals that could invalidate the merger if exposed. As dawn broke, with the wedding guests arriving, she confronted Margaret. What is this? Hope you enjoyed the story so far. The rest will be available on Patreon.